Right. Welcome to the Green Room is a bathroom, the newest and latest and smallest podcast about musicians, live musicians. We are the people who bring live music to you. To you, if you slow that phrase down, it does actually make sense. I promise. And today we are talking with Jason Manwill. I definitely butchered his last name, but I made sure I got the first one correctly. So he will correct us on that. But he is a recording artist, a multi-instrumentalist, a singer, a songwriter, has been on several network channels, and today he's slumming it with us in the Green Room is a bathroom podcast. By the way, my name is Mark, if I haven't mentioned that as well. But Jason, how are you? Jason, I already butchered your first name as well. I apologize. Jason, how are you?
Not a problem, Mark. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's helpful that my name is just a noun or a verb. It's not a real name. That's okay. But we are going to get into a couple things today. My first segment with Jason is one of my favorites, and that's because it's kind of a pun, and that is hot takes and cold steaks. It's not really a pun unless you have a picture of something that I might have. Maybe I'll put an overlay of some kind. And it's basically, as is tradition with musicians and artists and stuff like that, we have very strong opinions about things that absolutely don't matter. So hot takes on cold steaks, so things that don't matter. And we are going to cover a couple things, just get your take. I'll probably interject and put my take as well, just to kind of give people an idea of our stupid and weird and strong and maybe some brilliant opinions on things that really just don't matter. So let's get right into it with the first one. We have in-ears versus wedge monitors. What do you got?
Wedge monitors are great because you can hear from the wedge, right? So like
Right.
if you're a drummer or if I'm a keyboardist, right? Like I'm playing with another band, I can hear with the in-ear monitors, unless they are $50,000 in-ear monitors, there's a problem.
Okay. I am someone who uses both, depending on the situation I'm in. My day job, if you will, at night usually, I'm a tribute artist. I will do a lot of corporate work, so we work it with a lot of big companies, and we'll do these, conferences, or a company in Minnesota wants to come. I'm in California, so they want to come to California, enjoy the weather that we have in the middle of December. Yeah, so we'll do these shows, and we use live wedges for that. Just kind of interact with the crowd, kind of feel it out, and see what we're doing. But I also play a lot, and have in the past worked at some churches where stage noise is just, you have to keep it to a minimum. So I appreciate live wedges. I really like in-ears, but unless you're using a click, it's also kind of impossible, because you need to be able to hear what the rest of the band is doing. And unfortunately, a lot of musicians can't be trusted as their own sound engineers, so they want to hear themselves sometimes. So I think I probably lean towards agreeing with you on the wedges. I maybe don't have as hot a take or as strong an opinion as I claimed I would about this, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm sure I'll have some strong opinions as we go on. Next question for you. We have crowd work. So work in the crowd or shut up and play.
I think there's a specific time for both of those because I was a dueling piano roadshow player.
Okay.
So that you have to work the crowd. There's no option, right? You've
Yeah,
got to work the crowd because that becomes part of your edutainment. Like the more you edutain them, the more you get them to sing, the more money they give you, right?
absolutely.
The same is true when I go on stage at the Hard Rock Cafe in LA or other places, right? I want to make sure the crowd is engaged. I want to make sure they're enjoying everything. And I can put my music in, but the biggest part I want to make sure is they're having a great time. Because if they're not having a great time, then it goes on social media now, right? Before
That's
it
true.
didn't do that. Now it
That's true.
does. So I always want to make sure. So for my take on it, I would say you've got to have entertainment, edutainment, and you got to keep them engaged. Because if you can keep them engaged, they'll love you to the end of the time.
That's true. That is an interesting point that you bring up, though, with the social media. That's fair. I'm 35. I'll be 36 in just a couple weeks, but I am old enough to remember going to some shows thinking that was terrible, and then no one else knows about it because it just kind of dies within the week. They'll do another show, another crowd will love them, kind of thing. But now you're right. It is one of those. You are one exceptionally bad song away from being a viral sensation in the worst possible way. So you're absolutely right with that. I will say as well, man, I'm just sitting on the fence on all these. Um, if you can't speak to a crowd, if you have zero stage presence, shut up and play, because you don't need to tell everybody how bad you are at talking to them. So if you're bad at talking to them, shut up and play. If you're great at working the crowd, at the end of the day, I think you're right. They just want to be entertained. They just want to go home having had a good experience. A lot of corporate work that we do, some of the crowds are like, we're blowing off steam, we're having some drinks, we're going to enjoy the night. And others are, my boss is right over there, I'm not even going to pay attention to the band. You're basically a very expensive iPod playing in the background. I say iPod, I guess just Spotify, whatever the current thing is. And in those instances, if you talk to the crowd, they're just not going to give you anything. Just play the next song, move on. So, man, I will find one of these. I will find one of these that I'm not sitting on the fence on. I think the next one is going to be it for me. So, next question for fly shows. I don't do them often. Not sure about you, but when you do a fly show, so you have to leave, you have to go. Are you a hotel breakfast guy or a local spot?
For me, I love food. I'm a huge foodie. If anybody knows, I love making 18th century creme brulee myself. I love
Wow.
tasting creme brulee.
Okay.
And what I'm getting ready to do, we'll talk about later on, but like I would say definitely local food spot, because there's so many choices you have when you're on the road for fast food, right? But what sometimes what most people don't take advantage of is the local spots that are to die for. I'll give an example. Sarasota, Florida. If you're ever in Sarasota, Florida,
Okay.
there's this it's, I guess, Amish restaurant. They make
Okay.
handmade hot chocolate imported from the Amish country. I don't know where that's at, but that's what they told me. The best hot chocolate I've ever had in my entire life.
So I'm wondering if that's Pennsylvania or Dutch, so from the old country.
I'm pretty sure the chocolate's from the Dutch. But
Okay.
what I will tell you is this place. I think it's called like something like Jacobs or something like that. But if you go and you just put Amish restaurant in Sarasota, Florida, you will find it.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it is the best food. We ate there every single day we were in there on tour.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, I said I was going to be totally hardline going to go with one. I am a local spot guy. Don't get me wrong. I see the pragmatic benefit because I also like sleeping and just kind of going home. I'm not a big tour guy. I don't love going out on the road. One, because I'm not very outgoing. I'm very introverted. So we're having a conversation, but you're an indiscriminate amount of miles away from me. I I can be alone by myself still. So I like the pragmatic part of going home, but also I also love food. If anyone's watching and hasn't seen me in about a year, I'm about 70 pounds lighter than I was. So I love food. I just have to eat less. So yeah, I agree with you on the local spots. Talk about a little bit on a different segment later on with this as well. But we went to North Dakota for a fly show. Really, really fun time, great people, terrifying time. We'll get into that part as well. But there's a restaurant with the worst name. Found out it was a chain later, but didn't know at the time. Sickies. Like I don't know why we went there. It was delicious. It was great. They had amazing burgers, sandwiches, all sorts of like tornado tot kind of thing. It was delicious. It is the worst name in the history of the world, but it's also, if you don't go the local spot, you're going to miss out because, man, some people can really cook. Some people can't, but some people can really cook, and they don't usually work at chain hotels, to be fair. Nothing against chain hotels, but yeah, I'm with you on that. Die hard local spot, absolutely. All right, next one. This is especially relevant given the conversation that we're having right now, and the whole point of this as a podcast is a conversation to put out there in the ethos. TikTok or not, is it a necessary evil? Is it something you just kind of have to deal with, or is it just totally get rid of? And you can use any social media platform, as the placeholder for that.
Well, I would say this. Social media is everything nowadays. If you're not on social media, you don't have a business, you don't have a music business. And if you're an independent artist that has, like myself, my own record label, my own music publishing, I can put out a song in 4 hours and that's not like the other DistroKid and all this other stuff, you know.
Right.
So what I will say is social media is absolutely imperative, but you've got to know with your brand where your followers are.
Yes.
And then be on that platform for them.
Yes.
Now, granted, you've got the Taylor Swifts out there that are on everything, and she started on MySpace. And when she was on MySpace,
Yeah.
she was doing all of her comments and such like that, which made her who she is today, right? That's a whole different category than what we're talking about. We're talking about independent artists, right?
Yes.
So for independent artists, absolutely they need to be on social media. The only thing I would say is make sure they're on the social media their fans are on versus like, for example, let's say you don't have a following of the, I guess they're called millennials or Z millennials or Generation Z or something like that.
Gen Z is the one coming up. I'm a millennial. So
okay, sorry. So
yeah.
Gen Z. So basically,
I'm irrelevant now.
2010 and on
yes.
have no idea and do not listen to rock music.
That's fair. Oh, that hurts my heart, but I think you're right.
I know, right? Like yeah. They don't know. They don't. But here's the thing. So I would not be on that platform if they came out with a platform for them because they're not even listening to the type of music that I create. So it would definitely have to be, I would say you would have to look at your target market. You would definitely have to know where they are and be on those social platforms. Now, I'll give an example if I can real quick. Twitter, I use for my news feed. Anything that's news is on Twitter or X or whatever you call it now, right?
Yeah.
Then Instagram is, of course, going to be photos and videos. Facebook is still around because, you know, part of my fan base is still on Facebook, right?
Yes.
Now, we don't have MySpace anymore. I'm not on MySpace, and I'm not on, what was it called?
It's Friendster, Tumblr.
Tumblr, that was it. Yeah, so
okay.
not on Tumblr anymore either. So basically, based on how things are going with social media and such like that, looking at the criteria, looking at the trends, and then adapting along the way.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. It's interesting because if you expand out what the word or phrase social media means, you can get into a lot here because again, the band I'm in, I'll have one of the guys on at some point. I think maybe in a couple days, the band leader, so we can talk about the name at that point. But we're one of the larger Beach Boys tribute bands in the country. We get to travel all over. We played, hired out, subbed out a lot of people that have been in the Beach Boys and toured with them. They're music director for some tours and things like that. So we've been able to play with those kinds of people. And it wasn't until maybe a year or two ago that we had any sort of social media. And so my initial reaction is kind of like, well, it's not necessary if you're doing that kind of thing. Your own personal stuff, sure, because no one knows or cares who you are until they know you. That being said, if you expand out, like I was saying, the social media definition to things like the Bash, which used to be called Gig Masters or Gig Salad, or these services, third-party services, which in effect act as agent social media. So I'm, random person working for random company, and my boss tells me to hire a band. I have no idea where to go. I don't know anybody. So you type it in, and you can just look through all of this. So it's bios. You can call it like an EPK housing website or those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, you are doing the social media game, trying to get someone to like you based on your picture and maybe a video or two. So I think you're probably just definitively right. I think it's necessary, but it's interesting that I think a lot of people, a lot of creatives like us don't tend to think about that you brought up, which is the intentional marketing aspect of it. We just kind of shotgun blast, throw everything at the wall, see what sticks, and hope for the best. But you're right. Facebook exists as sort of a catch-all for everything, but demographically speaking, skews way older. Then you get Instagram, a little younger, that's the millennial. Then you do get TikTok, which is far more Gen Z. Although every one of these things is open for any other generation to be a part of. But you're right. If you are seeking, if you're doing rock, like you said, very insightful, by the way, you're doing rock and depressing. It's not going to reach the younger generation. It's not going to reach Gen Z. And I'm hoping millennials, we can stand strong and get some rock and roll. But I did just watch the second Spinal Tap movie. I'm not sure if you're aware. And I saw that it bombed. And that really makes me sad. So maybe there's not as much hope for it as I thought. But I didn't need to bring us all down with the death of rock and roll. Hopefully that's not true. All right, I have a couple more questions for you on this hot takes, cold steaks section. These are the ones that I did not tell you about. So, pressure's on. Not sure if you do a lot of shows where you drive fairly far. We just did a show in Lake Havasu as a turnaround. So basically meaning you drive to the show, do the show, pack up, and then drive home. We typically do our own PA system as well. So it's a process. It's not a quick thing. When you do a turnaround show, or if you were to do a turnaround show, say 4-hour drive there, 4-hour drive back, are you take a little bit less money, stay the night, or are you I'm going to drive through the night, get home at 3 o'clock in the morning, just so I can, keep that little extra cash?
Good question. So I would say neither, because I charge for my time and my performance, right? So no matter what, I'm going to get the retainer, and I'm also going to get the final for my performance once I'm done performing. Secondly, included into my rider, my technical rider, and also my the other rider, is that they have to put me up if it's a turnaround.
Smart. That's smart. I do appreciate that. I think when you get to a certain position, so if you're someone listening right now who has an established sort of following, has a bit of a name, has a business brand that can be found, say you have a good digital footprint, someone looks you up, they're going to find you immediately. I think you can certainly sway that power a little bit. If you're a newcomer, so for example, this podcast, which we're recording before it's even launched, I'm gonna have to eat some crow. I'm gonna have to, pay my dues before this kind of stuff gets out there. I had to do that with the band when I first started when I was 17. You have to do crap shows to build your name up, and now we work with agents, kind of thing. So I totally agree that if you can work that in, great. I will say, and I'm a big metaphor or analogy guy. So I've probably done it without realizing already. My wife does speaking engagements and things like that as part of her business, and so we've traveled to different colleges across the country. Oh, I think I froze there for a second. Can you see me?
You froze.
I can't tell if I froze. I did.
Froze.
Hold on. Hold.
There you go. You're back.
Oh. Yeah. Anyways, so we travel all over the country, do some of those speaking engagements, and we had one instance where they wanted to invoice and pay her separately. So the travel was going to be separate than the speaking fee, and it got into the weeds. It got a little tricky, and they didn't like what her travel fee was, and so we've now moved to just, here's how much you're going to pay us. We'll take care of travel, kind of thing. So that's my personal kind of thing. And then I'm also of the mind that I don't mind getting home at 2 o'clock in the morning. And maybe it's the poor boy in me still, that I just want to pocket that extra $60 that it could be just to drive home. And maybe it's because I don't do enough self-care. I don't know. I'm still of that mind. Well, that's what we did for Lake Havasu. It was 8 hours of driving in a day and like a 3-hour show. And I don't suggest it. It's not fun. It's not good on the body, and I would imagine when I turn 36 and officially hit middle age, I guess, it'll probably just wreck me even more. Anyways, moving on before I'm depressing myself with the death of rock and roll and myself. Next question, we have 2 more. Next question, is performing, and this is a little bit more serious, is performing deeply meaningful, just something to have fun with, or somewhere in the middle?
For me, I'd say deeply meaningful, because when I take my hands and I put that on the ivory, nothing else exists in the world except me and the ivory. I'm not looking at the 30,000 people or 300 people or whatever it is that's the audience. I'm connecting with the piano. And when I connect to that piano, magic happens. Or I connect with the guitar and such like that. So the performance itself is one thing, but I also think, which you didn't mention, but I think that the feedback from the audience, them singing your songs back to you, or singing a song back to you, or them having engagement with you, makes it so much more important than if you're just standing and singing songs. There's lights and fireworks and all this other stuff, which, don't get me wrong, that happens too. But the difference is you've got a full-blown audience that's watching you, and you don't know how what you're doing, you're playing, or you're saying is going to change their life when they go home.
Well, you are going to make me feel bad about myself because I am I'm on the other side, unfortunately, sometimes. So I'm definitely more in the middle. Again, I'm a fence sitter. I apologize to everybody who thought that this was going to actually be hot takes on my part. At least Jason's doing his part. I love the idea of, so I'm not a serious guy most of the time. I have my moments. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I have to have serious conversations with her. I've had serious conversations with other people as well. But I love so much of the lifestyle of doing music with people that I also enjoy spending time with. And so our car rides out to these shows, as well as during the show itself, we interact and we have fun with it. That being said, part of it is sort of if we're having fun, we kind of exude that and show the rest of the crowd that we're having fun. So if we're doing a song, might sneak something in that's just totally an inside joke that the crowd isn't in on, but maybe it gets our bass player to just crack up in the middle of it. And he's smiling, we're all smiling, we're laughing, we're presenting that. And maybe it's a tad unprofessional. Maybe we probably shouldn't do that as much as we do. But I think maybe it's not as much just have fun with it. It's not a big deal as much as it is sort of a way in which we present fun and entertainment. And so it might be different if we did originals. I am a failed recording artist. I have I think the only copy left of my album from my label when I was 21 years old, 14 years ago. Good Lord. Failed recording artist. Didn't make any money off of it. Had very, very little radio play. None of it near here. And yeah, I think I'd probably take it, and probably did take it more seriously when I would do a show with my own music, because I'm presenting who I am rather than an interpretation of what somebody else is. And so maybe it's just that. Maybe if I did more of my own music, maybe if I stuck Berklee School of Music out and got my master's finished, I would have probably kept doing it. But I didn't. All right, last question for this segment. This will be a lot sillier, hopefully, or maybe just, I don't know, daunting for the future. But I'm not sure if you are familiar with, it's weird to say who, but the AI actress, Tilly Norwood, and the up-and-comer that she is. But in that vein, 10 years from now, is it beneath you to open for the Tilly Norwood of music, the next big pop star?
That's a very interesting question because, as far as I'm aware, and the stuff that I've heard, Los Angeles just recently came out with a law that says that no AI can actually do anything can take a place of an actor. Basically, that's the data I have. But now, when it comes to music, right? Because let's face it, a lot of the actors right now are scared of that. But when it comes to music and opening up for an AI artist, I've actually never really thought about that until you said that. Because if they get big enough, right, they could be on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Now, I have said for the last 3 years, ever since I came out of the brain injury, that in 2027, I will somehow get to the Super Bowl halftime show and play on that halftime performance show. Now, I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I want to play on the Super Bowl halftime show. Now, I know a lot of artists don't want to do that, but if that meant me working with an AI artist, absolutely. Like I have, there's no ego as far as I'm concerned. Right. What I care about more than anything is the fans. So if that's what it's going to take to make sure my fans see me on a big performance stage like the Super Bowl, great. I also think too that regardless of where AI goes, right, just like the social media, you have to adapt to it, because pretty soon some of these other professions will no longer be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's fair. I think it's interesting because again, even though I'm 35, I'm born and raised on oldies music. It's what I do for a living as well. But I think of groups like the Archies, had a #1 hit in 1969 with Sugar Sugar, and they were cartoons. what is that but just an AI of their day, or Gorillas, a cartoon band. They have hits and stuff like that. So I would imagine it would just be the next iteration of that, whatever that looks like. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with doing it. I'm also a different person than I was when I did this. This guy wouldn't sell out. This guy would sell out for almost anything. So speaking of which, if there's any sponsors out there, any companies of any kind watching this podcast right now, just DM me, give me a call. Like, I will absolutely plug whatever you want. I don't care. Like, I can absolutely be bought. Absolutely. All right. So next segment, that was hot takes, cold steaks. We're moving on next segment, which is gigging nightmares. I have one quick little tidbit, and then we'll get into what Jason has for this. I mentioned earlier our North Dakota show. The show was great. It was in this tiny little town of about 1,000 people. I apologize, I cannot remember the name. That was not the nightmare. The nightmare was the 80-mile drive back in what this California boy can only describe as a blizzard, where I saw several cars and semi-trucks pulled off or stuck in some snow embankments, and you're just kind of grasping the chair in front of you or your knees and just terrified that you're just not going to make it. We made it, but obviously I'm here. But I would not want to do that again. I don't like the idea of going to North Dakota in the winter ever again. But that's my most terrifying kind of nightmare thing. Maybe you have a different idea of what nightmare. Maybe it's more professional than that. But let's hear what you have to say on that. What is your nightmare gig experience?
Probably going through the eye of a hurricane to get to the actual place. So here's the thing. I did not know. So I'm in Wisconsin, right? I'm in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And the ritual I had was I would go to AM/PM and I would grab a slushie, like a 64-ounce slushie at the time, right? This is way before. That would like hype me up and get me ready to go, right? Yep. So I'm at the gas station, right? And I'm getting my slushie. And I come outside and somebody goes, "Hey, you see that hurricane, right?" And I'm looking at the hurricane and I see the spiral. And what nobody else knew except me was my house that I was staying in was literally right below the funnel.
Oh, gosh.
Now, before I went in, I didn't even know the funnel even existed, right? So I called the person. I'm like, "Hey, listen, you got to get in the bathtub like now. The hurricane is coming over the house. You've got to get in the bathtub. Just go, take everything and get in the bathtub." And basically what happened is I went to the venue, and as I was going to the venue, I saw all these trucks with their lights on, and rain started coming down and pelting all kinds of like white stuff. Now, at the time, I was watching this semi so I could see where I was going because it was like literally almost pitch black.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Later on, after I got through that, because I literally found out that I drove through the eye of the hurricane. I had no idea. I had no idea what. I just thought it was windy, right?
Yeah.
But I was so determined to get there and not cancel because I never cancel. Like I do not cancel, and I got to be punctual too. So I'm 2 hours early. So literally, I went through the eye of a hurricane to get to my destination to play. Now, what was funny was because it was the eye of the hurricane and it actually destroyed about 13 miles after it hit the other side of our street. All the people that were supposed to come to the show couldn't make it. But we were there, right? So very interesting. It was a very interesting gig because one, we didn't get paid.
Yeah.
I went through an amazing experience that I can't even begin to describe to people. And three, I survived.
Yeah, that's fair. That last one's pretty important. Oh man, I didn't realize we'd be so in tune with that. That's great. That's great. So we're on the same wavelength for that for sure.
Yep.
I don't suggest it. I don't suggest going through a hurricane, tornado, California earthquakes, any of that. Like, yeah, no thanks. Thankfully, I haven't done the hurricane. The closest I had for a hurricane was we had a hurricane warning 4 or 5 years ago, I think, in my part of California. We're pretty inland as well. Their fire departments handing out bags to fill with sand and stuff like that. And we put it in front of the church that I was had planted at that time, and the rain came, and it was one of the milder rainstorms that we ever experienced. So I've never experienced a real hurricane or anything like that. That sounds awful and terrifying, and I'm glad that you made it through, and we're here today on our podcast. But our last segment is called Shameless Plug, because what good would we be if we didn't shamelessly plug ourselves sometimes we got to get our name out there, sometimes we got to get our stuff out there. So Jason, what are you doing? Where are you at? Where can people find you? What are you doing as an artist right now that people should know about?
Well, right now I'm currently in the studio working on Fright and the Fear. We're pushing for right now a Hollywood release. We don't know yet if that's going to happen because this song has been almost 30 years in the making. Think of old school Metallica like Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Seek and Destroy, with Jimi Hendrix guitar solos.
All right.
So
nice.
a little bit different flavor. And this story, it's so dear to my heart because it's actually a true story about domestic violence and a person that I met who she was in an abandoned women's shelter, and she lost her life. And when I found out she lost her life and I saw her 4-year-old, I started writing this song. So this song is very dear and true to my heart, and it's definitely got the one by Metallica, like Darkness, Imprison Me type of themes to it. But I'm very excited for that. Working in the studio for that. Bit. Oh, better.
Hold on, Jason. You froze a little bit. So last I heard was the Metallica examples that you gave.
Yeah. So very excited about being in the studio for that. Been doing a little bit of acting as well, and so that's coming out in 2026. Some incredible stuff along with that. And then also the way you can find me is if you go to jasonmanwill.com. And if you type,
I'll get that from you, and I'll make sure to put it in the description as well.
Awesome.
Sweet. All right. Anything else that before we close? Anything else before we say goodbye?
I just want to say it's a pleasure to be here on this podcast, Mark. And also, I love music. I love fans, right? So I consider it a privilege to be a part of any type of media platform. And secondly, I just want to encourage you, if you've ever wanted to release another song and do it the independent way versus the label way, right? I'll help you in any way I can.
Awesome, man. I do appreciate that. I have a follow through problem. I made that joke earlier about finishing Berklee School of Music. I did start the master's program in songwriting, and then life happened, and it was a little expensive. I can do it. I have production background and all that kind of stuff. I have a follow through problem, and that's why the fact that I have this podcast. You are the 5th podcast I believe I've recorded before I've launched. This is the most as a musician, and it's not even music, that I've probably done since my album when I was 20. So I'm excited. Thank you, though. I will keep that in mind because I probably just need someone to give me a swift kick in the butt to actually do that stuff. And you're an inspiring person. I appreciate you coming on and, again, hanging out with us small people down here at the Greenroom is a bathroom podcast. I'm glad that you are here with us, and I'm glad that you've been here talking with us about some cool stuff. So look out for Jason, and give me your last name one more time.
Manwill.
Jason Manwill. I will put his socials, put his website and all that stuff in the bio. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This has been the Greenroom is a Bathroom podcast. Have a great week.